In this part of the exercise, we're going to take a look at creating the input field component, the checkbox, the radio button, and we'll do this little one here. And then we'll finish it up with the next little piece by wiring up the scroller. So let's get to work. They've got Brandon's input field here, and if you come over to the layers panel, you can see there's the text fields, and all you got to do is just go to the HUD and create a text input component, and I'll just name this one TXT, text input. And just click OK. And there's the component, and now I want to work on it, and all I have to do is click. Now, this is the normal, the input field, and I can choose right here, choose the text, and if I come over here, I can even choose to make this a password. So when I enter the text, you can see the password in it. It's dots. And I can also choose to format the text that gets input. So if you want to see what it looks like, I'll just test the movie, Control Enter or Command Return. And up comes the browser. And here comes the component, and there's the input field, and if I click in it, there we go. And you see there's Brandon's little piece right there, the focus piece. All right, I'm going to close that. Now let's do the checkbox. Now the checkbox, as you remember, is composed of two components. And by the way, I'm going to give you a bit of advice here. People are very used to checkboxes and radio buttons, so don't think that you can have a radio button in a square box and a checkbox in a round button. It just doesn't work. People are expecting to see squares and circles. And these function exactly the same way. So if I get the checkbox here and come to the HUD, I can choose checkbox, and I'll just give it an, oh heck, we'll just go with that name, click OK, and then double click it to open it up, and you can see there it is, up, over. Okay, so if I go over it, I can come over to the layers panel here and just turn on the check mark. And if I go down, if I have a down state with the mouse, I got a check mark. And if I select it and it's up, I'm going to have the check mark. And if it's selected and over, I'm going to have the back that up. And if it's selected and over, I'm going to have the check mark. And if it's selected and down, I'm going to not have the check mark. And you can do the same thing with the radio button, same states. And if I test it, Command Return, Control Enter. There's the check mark. Okay. Yeah, roll off, and it doesn't do anything. As soon as I click it, though, it's selected. Okay. Close that. The D-pad is going to be a little bit more difficult to do because there's no such thing as a D-pad component in Catalyst. So what you got to do is actually make your own component. And yeah, there's a component for that. So what you do is you just select the object you want to convert to a component. So I come over here to Catalyst. And rather than selecting all four of these, I'm just going to come over here, select the folder, and in the HUD, I'm going to convert this to a custom generic component. And custom generic components can be named anything and have as many states as you want. I'm just going to go with the defaults here. Click OK. And it's now a component. And I can open up the component just by double-clicking it. And now I'm into the Edit in Place mode. And what I'm going to do is set this up in such a way so if I roll over this, these three fade out. You know, you can do that for all of them. I'm just going to show you how to do the first one, and then you can figure out how to do the remaining three because they're all the same. So what you do is you just select the arrows and you convert them to buttons. That's what you do. It's the first thing you want to do. Just convert it to a button. Just go with the name. Click OK. And the reason you want to convert it to a button is that you're going to be adding an interaction to it. Now what we're going to do is just duplicate this state. So you just come, duplicate the state. And now I've got two states. I'm going to name this one normal. And I'm going to name this one up. Or top. Okay, back to the normal state. And now what I'm going to do is wire this up. So I just select the button. I come to the interactions panel, add an interaction. And I'm going to say, look, when I roll over this button, I'm going to go to the component, and I'm going to go to the top. And whenever you have the remaining three, you'll see all of them in there. In what state am I going to be in? In normal. Click OK. And then I'm going to add another interaction, which is what happens when I roll off of it. So when I roll out, play transition to state, what state we're going to do or what target. We're going to use the component again, and we're going to go to normal, and we're going to do this in any state. Click OK, and that's done. Now all I have to do is deal with the fade out, and that's not hard to do at all. Just select the three little arrows, come to the opacity panel, and let's knock their opacity back to 50%. So now they fade back, as you can see. Come back to normal, and then I'm just going to come to generic component cat, right back to our original component, and let's give it a test. Command return or control enter. Here we go. And up comes the component, and if I roll over it, see, grays out, grays off. Now I can also put an interaction on this. This is when I click it, do something, or go somewhere. So there you go. There's the text input field, the two little buttons here, and this little D component. In the final installment, I'm going to wire this thing up. I'll see you there.